I think if you're going to be a really good stunt double, you have to really become one with the actor.
Is this moron number one?
Uh-huh.
Okay, then, so who are you?
A stuntman.
Is that how you describe your job, Cliff?
That's about right.
And I figure I can hit the bag. I just kind of wonder how I'm going to hit it.
And cut, stunt double.
And for the record, I do all my own stunts. All of my own stunts.
What happened to you?
Just soil stunt work. Yeah, I do all my own stunts.
When you were in the movies, you were a stuntman, right?
It's great because he just gets injured and I don't. I do all my stunts.
I did my stunts because I thought that that's what everyone did. I did my stunts because I thought that that's what everyone did. I did my stunts because I thought that that's what everyone did.
And then Tom Cruise over here.
No, I'll be the first me, not the next Tom Cruise. Thank you very much.
My stuntman's about to fuck you up.
You idiots! These are not them. You've captured their stunt doubles.
This is going to be episode 47 of the Two Critical Podcasts. Today we are talking to a gentleman coming to us all the way from London, England.
London.
London?
Yes, London. You know, fish, chips, cup of tea, bad food, worse weather, Merry fucking Poppins, London.
His name is Erol Ismail. Ismail? It could be. I don't know. We will get clarification on the last name. His first name is Errol, which is, I think, super cool, like Errol Flynn and the guy Rob knows from Chelmsford. But this gentleman is a professional stuntman, and his list of credits is extremely impressive. His most recent work is Mission Impossible 7, a movie that is in post-production, Indiana Jones 5, which we are very curious about, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, that's in post-production, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, The Batman, Eternals, No Time to Die, The Green Knight, Black Widow, F9, The Fast Saga, Cruella, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Wonder Woman 1984, it goes on and on and on. So I had found him on Facebook through, I think, mutual friends. Excuse me, I have a bit of cold. And he was posting pictures after The Batman came out. You know, after the movies are over, everybody does these big photo dumps where they finally release all the pictures of themselves, like, you know, behind the scenes and all that stuff. And he was dressed up in the Riddler outfit. You know, all the copycats at the end of The Batman all come out and end up in the rafters shooting everybody with rifles. He was one of those guys. And then there was a bunch of other pictures of him. I think he was one of the guys. He might be one of the guys that Batman beat up on the train platform, Rob.
I thought he was the guy that he beat up. I thought that's what you told me.
I thought he was. I could be wrong, but I thought I saw one of his photos on Facebook of him.
Yeah, I thought that's. I'm pretty sure that's what you told me.
That skeleton makeup, right?
Yep.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah.
When you think of stunts, what are some of the movies that your mind immediately goes to when you think of stunts?
I mean, the Marvel movies are an obvious one. I also think anything to do with like Mission Impossible, things like that. I do immediately think of Jackie Chan, though. Like, that's the first name. You say stunts, I think of Jackie Chan jumping through a ladder and being
stunts,
thrown through a plate
glass
glass window.
Stunts?
Chan.
Stunts?
Jackie. Shit.
We'll work on it.
We're close. We're close.
Yeah. So Jackie Chan climbs a ladder, and he's going to do the trim and the lattice work.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like stunt work, you know, you think of like either big action sequences with fights or a car chase, a car crash, a motorcycle chase, things like that. Being thrown out of a window, being thrown off a building, all that stuff. You know, you're thinking of high intensity, fast paced, moving, obviously lots of risk involved. You know, when he obviously was a part of Game of Thrones, you think Game of Thrones, you're immediately thinking the stunt workers, you're thinking the Battle of the Bastards, things like that. You know, massive scenes with multiple people running around, swinging their arms, swinging weapons.
Someone
swinging
arms as weapons.
I'm sure it's been done. TDK in the Suicide Squad, the detachable kid. he takes his arms off and just his arms go around. So I think that qualifies. We're there already.
Yeah, Lethal Weapons. Literally,
Yep.
his hands are registered as lethal weapons.
And I think all that lethal weapon horse shit is just an excuse so you dancers never have to get in a real fight.
But you bring up Game of Thrones. They broke a record for the most stuntmen burned
Injured?
on screen in TV. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they
He's like Happy Gilmore. He's got 2 league records. Most
Well,
time spent in the penalty box, and he's the only guy that ever took off his skate and tried to stab somebody. Were you doing some painting?
This thing, oh, it's brutal. I ordered a bunch more. It's like my whoopee. So yeah, I have. There was a VHS tape. Stay with me now. That came out a long time ago, and it was the making of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and they released it, I believe, eventually with the box set of Indiana Jones when it came out on DVD. But I had the VHS copy of this, and it was on like CBS, I think. And Harrison Ford is the narrator and the host of this whole thing because at the time he didn't have much to turn down, and he was happy to do it. And he interviews all of the guys. Glenn Randall and Vic Armstrong and all the guys that did all the stunts and Raiders. And it was, I watched this thing until it was worn out. And that was the first time where I started to get obsessed with not only behind the scenes stuff, but with all of the stunt stuff, because they showed how they dragged him under the truck and,
See, one thing about stunts, I think a lot of people confuse choreography and stunt. So, for example, like, not that there weren't stunts done in the movie The Matrix, there was a ton, but I think a lot of that is more choreography than stunt work. A lot of times they're hand in hand. Obviously, they're choreographing the stunts, especially for the fight scenes.
Right.
But when I think of stunts, I guess the way I'd put it is, can you get very hurt doing this? If the answer is yes, it's a stunt. If it's not, it's choreography. Do you know what I mean?
So I'm sure we can ask him this, and I'm sure that he'll tell you, but there are different classifications of stunts, and because it's film, they have multiple classifications for stunts. So they will have like.
If only they had something like that in place for like on a movie set, like who handles like the weapons and things like that. It's kind of like a driver's license, right? Like I can drive a car, but I can't drive a semi because I don't have a CDL.
Correct.
So like if you've got the low level stunt, like you can do like a scene where you're like maybe in old school with Will Ferrell, they're doing the dance routine, like you can fall through a chair. But we can't have you thrown through a window though, because you don't have that classification. So that's the next tier up.
Yeah, the guys that do burns, and so they don't classify.
You're burning them up.
They don't classify a high fall unless it's over 30 feet. So, and of course,
29 feet. That's amateur shit.
It is, really, and there's different money involved in all that stuff as well.
I'd have my tape measure out,
which is great. Maybe he'll tell us about some of that stuff. Like I know from reading Vic Armstrong's book, the guy that was Harrison Ford's stunt double for a long time, but especially in Temple of Doom, because when Harrison Ford hurt his back, this guy took over, and Harrison Ford was out for I think 6 weeks from that movie, and they shot most of what they needed with Vic Armstrong, just doubling Harrison Ford before face swapping technology. But he would say in the book, these directors would be like, oh, you're going to have to do this stunt. He's like, all right, it's going to cost you $7,000. And they were like, fine. And then he would do the stunt, and then they'd say, oh, we need to do it again. He's like, yep, no problem. I'm ready to go. And in
7,000 more.
That's it. In his mind, he was just, tallying all that stuff up, which makes total sense. But those guys back then, they could ride horses, they could fight, they could sword fight, they knew stuff about guns. I think nowadays there might be a lot of guys that do a lot of it, but I think there are more specialists nowadays that do just specific things. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and obviously with looking at his catalog, if I had to guess, he's in the specialized like hand-to-hand combat stunt work. Just because all the Marvel movies, the James Bond movies, the I always want to say James Bond when I say Mission Impossible. Like, I know they're different franchises, but they're not.
Right.
But he's been in both Mission Impossible, James Bond, Game of Thrones, Fast and the Furious. So maybe, I don't know about fight. I mean, there's fight scenes in that. So he could have easily been, he might have punched The Rock for all we know.
Right.
Probably had some Terramana tequila after.
Yeah.
And looked after his Ohana.
Terramana. Yeah, Terramana.
Seems like he specialized in more combat stunts and hand-to-hand and in fight scenes. I mean, obviously, I'm guessing with how long he's been in it and everything he's done, I'm guessing he's done more than one type of stunt work, but it seems like that's his specialty. And whoever got him in with Marvel, I mean, he's in Marvel and DC movies left and right.
What a blessing.
The blessing.
The blessing. He sent us one of his reels, which we will show on the YouTube channel during the podcast. But
with Benny Hill music laid over it.
With karate. But he does like a tumbling routine on like a gymnastics floor where he's doing these like absolutely insane I don't know, martial arts or something. It's very impressive.
He's Simone Biles mixed with Jackie Chan.
Right. Our guest on episode 47 of the Too Critical Podcast. Boy, I just coughed.
Denny.
Sorry. Our guest on episode 47 of the Too Critical Podcast, Mr. Erol Ismail. Here we go.
Hey guys.
Hello there.
There he is.
How's it
How
going?
are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Your new computer is crystal clear.
Yeah, that's good. Good to hear that.
Erol, how do you pronounce your last name?
Ismail.
Ismail.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So welcome to the Too Critical Podcast. My name is Thomas, and that is Rob. Your first name. Very cool. Was it intentional? Is it an Errol Flynn reference or just fate?
I guess just fate. My mom liked it, so yeah.
You and I are friends on Facebook. I think we have a lot of mutual friends. And I had seen you posting a bunch of your stuff. Excuse me, I have a little bit of a cold. But I recently saw that you did a photo dump from the Batman. You just released all of your pictures and stuff. And I reached out to you to come on, and you were thoughtful enough to say yes. And we appreciate it. So yeah, we'd just like to talk to you a little bit about your career, how you got started. And Rob and I have been going through your IMDb page, and boy, we have a lot of questions. So many questions. Cool. Game of Thrones, my God, we could do whole episodes just about Game of Thrones. Just give us some info, your background, where you were born, how you got started. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I was born and raised in London. I started off doing martial arts. I love martial arts from a young age and stuff. My dad done martial arts, so we always had punching bags and stuff in the garage. So my dad was quite a big influence in getting me started into it. And then obviously Hong Kong cinema for most of us was a massive inspiration and stuff. So then when I was 16, I was like, I had to start learning some kung fu. And fortunately at the time it was like kung fu was like a massive thing, and Star Wars and all that kind of stuff just started kicking off with Darth Maul. And I found a good little school and then just went at it.
How many times have you seen Hard Boiled?
Hard Boiled, quite a few times.
Yeah. Anybody that liked shootouts? It was always Hard Boiled. Any of the slow motion scenes that they had in those films, people would always come to me and they would say, "Oh, we want to do a shootout, and then we want to do it in slow motion. The guy needs to have 2 guns." And they would say, "We want it to look just like," and I'd say, "Hard Boiled," and they'd say, "Yes, just like Hard Boiled." Yeah, those movies are insane. So when did you see your first film where you remembered when you thought to yourself, "This is what I want to do with my life"?
Oh, probably like for me, probably for a lot of people, Bloodsport was a huge one.
Okay.
Where it was just like, yeah, this is I've got to pursue that. Not necessarily going into film and stuff like that, but definitely go down the martial art route. So Bloodsport was a huge one for me. But my dad would sort of like spoon feed me little films, like back when Blockbuster was around.
Right.
So like every week would go and get a martial arts film, watch it together. So yeah, it was like, I think Guyver, Dark Hero, not many people know that, but that film, that was a big one for me as well. And then yeah, once I got down the sort of the Jet Li, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee, all that kind of stuff, it was decided for me. So yeah.
And when was the first time yet you actually did all this stuff on camera? Not and I don't mean professionally. Like, when did you actually start doing this stuff? Like, did you start doing it with your friends? Did you do it when you were in school?
Well, I'm going to show my age that we didn't have cameras and camera phones and stuff, so didn't sort of come up with phones and stuff. Probably like just the camcorders, the tape camcorders and stuff. Started like videoing our training, things like that.
Right.
Yeah, just slowly as again with technology and YouTube coming out, just progressed really.
I mean, speaking for myself, I know that I'm lucky. If I had smartphones back when I was doing all this shit, I would have been in jail for certain. Riding on top of cars and getting dragged behind things. It never would have, so when did you get your first job as a stuntman?
I think I was about 17. So again, like I was sort of doing the college thing. I loved martial arts, was my life. I was going to class like pretty much every day. And then I heard about this casting. So they wanted like some parkour guys. So went along to the casting with one of my friends who he heard about it. So I tagged along. And then, we'd sort of like fit the bill. And then it was a Sony Ericsson commercial, and it was shooting in India. So it was like a huge thing. And the directors and the coordinators loved us and was right for the thing. And and that was it. And that was our first sort of like big thing, So sort of like came into adverts and going to castings, things like that.
Well, when I was like 16, I made a homemade Jackass video with some of my friends where I jumped off a building. So I think we're really peers. I think we can see. Actually, I ran in. This is a weird coincidence. I ran into a friend that I hadn't seen in like 18 years that was part of that situation. And I started remembering there was a snowstorm. We live in New England, we get a ton of snow. And I jumped off a roof of a building into a snowbank that we were all convinced was going to be very soft and fluffy. And, a plow had pushed it up and the snow was like 10 feet high. And again, I'm feeling like a tough guy. And I'm like, I'm going to show off to my friends here. And I got to try to track down the video. And if I can, I will. It's not going to happen overnight. It won't be out in time for this episode, but I'll try to find it. But it was solid ice. Like, I jumped off the roof of this building and you just hear this massive thud. And you can just hear me go, I think I broke my ribs. Like, it was the worst decision I've ever made. So, Erol, by the way, I'm Rob. Nice to, I know I haven't spoken yet. So when Tom told me about you, obviously it started with the Batman photo dump, which I'm sure you were waiting till, I'm sure there's a statute of limitations when you can post any of this stuff. We both love the movie, by the way, not, for the record. And we actually don't like a lot of stuff. We usually get on this podcast and just rip on everything. But we both really liked it. And then I started looking at your IMDb. And I told him, so we go to a comic convention that we do a lot of stuff with. And, I said to him, I go, this is a Terrificon fan's wet dream. I'm like, Marvel, James Bond, Mission Impossible, Game of Thrones, Eternals, Black Widow. I'm reading these off to him. I'm like, I can't believe, like, this guy is in everything that I watch.
Yeah. So
this is going to be hard because obviously we don't want to take up too much of your time. So we have to be a little selective here in terms of what we get into and how much we ask about it. But I have to ask specifically some of the episodes of Game of Thrones that I saw that you were on. I mean, I know it's crazy to kind of put TV ahead of film here because I think everyone kind of looks at film as the big leagues and TV as the minors. But I think HBO and Game of Thrones, that's an exception to that rule. You're in some of the biggest episodes of television ever made.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, how many people ask you about being a White Walker?
Pretty much everyone.
Yeah.
Once they know anyway. So yeah, it's pretty big.
So what is that process like when you guys all have to suit up? You're all in a room. You're all getting your gear on. Everybody turns into White Walkers. I mean, how much time are you spending per day with all those guys together?
You're pretty much living together. You know, like we're all staying in the same hotel. You know, we're rehearsing, we're training together, eating together. You really become like a solid team, and you know, like a little family, really. You know, you're keeping each other safe. You know, just helping each other out, whatever. And you know, films and series, they go on for months and months. You know, so you really become a family. But
now,
yeah.
Did they have? Were you guys doing like a lot of utility stuff? Like some days you were doing White Walker stuff, and then you'd flip over to do. It's like you were
Battle
soldiers,
of the Bastards.
Do you know what I mean? Like, was that happening, or do they have dedicated groups for each thing?
Yeah, I mean, we had on the rare days where they didn't need so many of us. We might be lucky enough to, you know, be utilities and stay in our own gear and stuff. But generally, Game of Thrones was like so busy. So like every day there was pretty much either a stunt going on or a sequence where there's big battles and stuff. So it was very, very full on.
And yeah, go ahead, Rob.
I just have to ask, was Game of Thrones, I'm just assuming here, of all the projects you worked on, was that the biggest in terms of like, you need to keep your mouth shut about everything you see on the set? I mean, I imagine all of these, I know Marvel's the same way. I mean, but Game of Thrones, I got to imagine, especially like once the show got to its stride where it was the biggest phenomenon on TV, I got to imagine, I mean, how many meetings did you have to have about like, you are not allowed to talk about anything you see, anything that, don't talk about anything to anyone until the show's been out for a year.
Yeah, I mean, we every show you sign NDAs, and obviously, like, you know, you're a professional, and you know, it could cost you your job, career, even. So obviously, it's not worth the risk.
But you had some friends that you talked to, and you were like, listen, if you ever,
I'm not going to indict myself. I'm not going to indict myself.
Very smart man.
Smart man. All right, he passed the test.
So,
all right, Kevin Feige's listening.
Errol, speaking of that, so you worked on Indiana Jones 5. Were you there the day that Indiana Jones was killed? Man, he's
so I
sorry.
I tried. I tried.
You know, speaking
R.I.P.
of Indiana Jones
R.I.P.
5,
Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Speaking of Indiana Jones 5.
Yes.
You were in the Batman, and there was a accident on set. And you were in Indiana Jones 5, and there was a tuk-tuk accident on set.
Yeah.
Can you account for your whereabouts during this incident?
Yeah, it is a strange thing that's going on, but yeah, it's happened a lot. I don't know why. Maybe I'm hot property. Maybe, I don't know.
If it was me as a fan, I want more tuk-tuks in everything.
So Tom, just so you know, like Tom's persona, other than being Tom, is Indiana James, because he made a spoof of Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark is his favorite movie of all time. We are actively talking about Indiana Jones 5, even though it's not going to be out forever. And when we realized that you were in that also, we were like, I mean, this guy is in every single thing we've talked about in every episode. I mean, we always do like an episode recapping Marvel movies or the Batman or DC movies when they come out, but we do a lot of stuff on, you know, past and history, Star Wars, things like that. Just so you know, Indiana Jones is like Tom's passion. That's his thing. That's the thing that made him want to get into film.
That's the reason. That's the reason that got me into making movies. Was Raiders.
Great films.
Speaking of Indiana Jones 5, and you can just give me a wink. What was it like? The challenges on that when Harrison Ford hurt himself. I mean, people went into panic mode, I'm sure, right? And then people are only speculating that the movie was saved almost the same way it was when they made Temple of Doom. But of course, they didn't have the technology that they have now, where they're going to have a guy that's going to body double and put the mocap, dots on his face. They had Vic Armstrong in Temple of Doom that would just double him. They would shot him from the back. I mean, is it something similar that they did to finish out the rest of that shooting?
I mean, yeah, we were. I think at the time, because I joined later on, I was on something else at the time. But
another
yeah,
giant film. You were on another giant blockbuster. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's only on hits. Like, listen, he doesn't have time.
Hits only.
Like,
nope.
Like they asked him to be in Extraction. Like Chris Hemsworth called him directly, and he had said, "Listen, mate, I'd love to do it, but they got me on this." I mean, he's getting ready. He's not doing Netflix series. Okay, this is James Bond. Game of Thrones, Marvel, DC. He's a heavy hitter here.
Netflix
all right,
is up and coming, guys.
Can you drive a tuk-tuk? That's what we want to know. Yes.
Oh, whoa, 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 whoa,
There.
I can, yeah.
Sorry,
sure.
Indiana Jones 5. Go ahead. Sorry. So
yeah.
how did they deal with it?
Yeah, so luckily the scenes that when he did get hurt, it was a lot of the action scenes. So the doubles, really became, Indiana Jones. So luckily they pushed it and they were able to still film. But with the whole COVID thing as well, it was just on and off, and the whole film got dragged on way longer than they expected. So it's kind of just dealing with sort of COVID and those little things. But the production pushed through, and the core stunt team are the great guys and know what they're doing and stuff. So they really just nailed it. Really.
Go ahead, bro.
Well, I don't mean to shift gears, but him saying that made me think of something because he was talking about COVID. So I know you worked on the new Mission Impossible movie also.
Yeah.
Were you there when Tom Cruise flipped out on everyone on set? Because I think everyone on the internet saw that. Were you there?
Unfortunately, I wasn't, but I love Tom Cruise, and
Tom Cruise gets more respect from Tom and I, and as someone that I like a lot of his movies, a ton of them. But the respect we have for him, for what he does.
We've never met before, right?
And how many stunts he does himself and all of the crazy shit he's willing to do. He is the epitome of a movie star. I'm not talking about whether you like his films or not. I'm just saying the persona, the dedication, the sheer lunacy of the man. He's out of his goddamn mind.
Money where his mouth is. Yeah.
I wish more people cared the way he cared.
Right. Maybe they wouldn't fuck around so much.
That's for sure.
So you weren't there. Okay, we can move past it. But I was really hoping you were going to say, "Yeah, I was right there." In fact, you spit right in my face.
I would have loved to be in there, but unfortunately, I wasn't.
This is a theme. He's not around when all these things go down. I'm noticing.
Yeah, you ever notice that? Oh yeah, I wasn't there when the tuk-tuk crashed. Oh yeah, Tom Cruise wasn't yelling at me. Sure, no, none of that was me.
So speaking of, the technology now is incredible, and everybody's seen the images online of the silicone masks, like the silicone Harrison Ford masks that the body doubles wear and things like that. That stuff is a game changer for filmmaking, right? You don't have to worry about your wide shots or some of your action shots if he's going to be on a top of a train or riding a tuk-tuk or something like that. That's just something that people didn't have long time ago. You see all the movies where that it's the stuntman. The stuntman will ride past camera on the horse, and he'll maybe turn a little bit to the left just at that right moment.
The Dark Knight. The opening scene when he's on the side of the van. It is so obviously not Christian Bale. It's the most it might as well have been an Asian or an African American actor. It's not Christian Bale. It's not even close to Christian Bale.
But so the technology is insane, and especially now that I know they've been doing it for a while, but swapping faces on an actor, so you can have a stunt person come into a full close up, and then they will just swap faces. They've been doing it since Jurassic Park. That scene in Jurassic Park with she climbs up into the drop ceiling, and the Velociraptor's trying to get her leg, and she looks up, and then they swapped her face with the actress. Their ability to do all that stuff now, is incredible, which I assume makes your life easier, I would imagine.
Yeah, definitely. You know, they have the like little dots all placed and stuff, so
Right.
it's definitely a game changer for sure for the actors as well. You know.
How long were you on Indy 5?
I think overall, probably maybe 2 months.
How many countries are you in?
I unfortunately I was only in London, so I did get asked, but again I was on something else, so just missed out on going on locations.
So I assume you've been to Pinewood and Elstree.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what is that like?
Pinewood, I think is like this. Like now, there's the studios have expanded so much. There's new studios going on, you know, coming up all over the place.
Right.
But like the main sort of three is like Pinewood, Leavesden Studio, which is Warner Brothers, and Shepperton as well. So it's like those three are like the big ones, really.
So
but, yeah.
Have you ever been on any of these backlots where, you know, every backlot has like an area that they don't use so much, or they have like the junkyard or the scrapyard? Like, are there spots around where like you know you go out into the woods a little bit and like over to the left is like something from a film that's just been dumped there like in a pile? Like, are there a lot of those little things?
Yeah, there is. There really.
I'm obsessed with all this stuff. I remember seeing a long time ago online. They were the two statues from Raiders of the Lost Ark that were holding up the Well of the Souls, and they were in a pile. And then also in the pile was Luke Skywalker's speeder from Star Wars, and they just trashed him. They just, you know, tossed them out in the trash. That stuff blows my mind. I'm obsessed by the Batman 1989 movie set that is just standing somewhere. I don't know if it's still there. But like, have you ever seen anything like that? You know, like tell me maybe a little bit about some of that stuff that you've seen that you're like, oh, that's a set from whatever, or that's a prop from whatever, and it's just like stashed somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I was so basically like you said, like there's the backlots and stuff, and the studios are always expanding. So sometimes you'll be, you know, going down that little path, and then you go left or right or whatever, and then you'll come up to a building, and there'll be like nothing in the building, and then I went to one location, and it was literally like all the Star Wars, you know, the speeders and stuff like that, and I was just like, this is so amazing. And it was literally just like one security guard just like chilling out there in his little you know, cabin and stuff, and I just wanted to like hang around and just like take pictures. Obviously you can't take pictures and stuff, right. But that was like pretty.
That's amazing.
So with obviously, I mean, you go through the list of the movies. We did it before you came on. I've listed half of them, not even half, because you've been in so goddamn many. What's it like obviously, like when you're around some of these stars, things like that? I'm sure you're a professional. You've done it long enough. Like, you're not getting that intimidated. Like, oh God, that's Tom Cruise. But like, what's it like when you're on like an Age of Ultron and there's that many of them? You know what gets you more? Is it more being around like the bigger star, or being around like 15 of them in one place?
It's weird because like sometimes I've only had like Indiana Jones was like a huge one for me. So the first time I saw Harrison Ford, he was like in the whole get up, and I was just like,
can I help you with your walker, sir?
Yeah, it was so surreal, you know. So you still have those moments. But yeah, I've been in the industry a long time, so sort of like treat them as, you know, like obviously you show your respects and stuff, but I think they appreciate it when you sort of treat them a little bit normal. All of them are different, obviously. So some of them like to be a bit more babied and stuff, but generally we meet them, we train them, you know, obviously they have to trust us. So it's a process, but yeah, definitely sometimes.
Yeah, don't touch the moneymaker. Yeah. You can hit me here. You can hit me here. Don't hit me here. So like I said, I mean, again, I have so many questions I want to ask you about so many things you've done, but I won't do that because we don't have the time in 10 hours, let alone in a half an hour to talk to you. But when you're working with Marvel, DC, you know, James Bond, all those different types of things, what's it like when you leave there and people know, like, okay, I was on the set of Age of Ultron. I mean, everyone you know is like, what'd you see? What's going on? How hard is it? I know, like you said, you have NDAs on everything you do. Like, you can't talk about any of the stuff. But it's got to be hard. Like, you got to have friends that are like, wait a second, you were on Indiana Jones 5? Was Shia LaBeouf there? Because I haven't seen anything online about Shia LaBeouf. So just tell us, was Shia LaBeouf there?
No, look, just shake your head, yes or no. CGI monkeys, yes or no.
Sorry, guys, you're breaking up. You're breaking up.
I predicted that earlier.
Prank caller.
No, I know you can't get into specifics, but I mean, you must have a lot of friends that are like asking questions when you're leaving these shoots. I mean, I'm sure that as soon as they're out, then, you know, it's easier. Like, we can talk about the Batman now because the Batman's out. We've all seen it. But how often do you get asked about this stuff? And I'm not talking on podcasts or things like that. Yeah. I'm saying, like, with friends, like, they must ask you about this stuff, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of my friends are stuntmen, women, so it's kind of like.
So they were there next to you.
Yeah. We exchange like secrets and stuff. But yeah,
that's gotta be so. That's gotta be so cool though. Like, knowing, like, in Game of Thrones, like, you know, they don't know what happens in the Battle of the Bastards, but we do.
Yeah, well, they, you know, even like my family and stuff, they ask, and you know, but I'm like, I can't, guys, I can't.
No, because you want to work again in the future. I get it. You don't need Tom Cruise knocking on your door and punching your mouth loose.
Exactly, shouting at me. But I'm sorry.
So in the Batman, Tom and I looked at, so how much work did you do on that? And, you know, how many scenes were you in for that?
So I did the train gang, which is like the opening.
Obviously.
Yeah. So that was like probably like the biggest one. And then towards the end, the Riddler's crew. So I got beaten up by Batman quite a few times, and I was just loving it.
But in real life, if you and Pattinson fought, who would win?
Come on.
I'll kick his ass, man.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I'm not
no question. Who were you in the train gang?
So we was like, they didn't really have names or nothing, but basically, Batman comes and he just beats us up. Basically, he just wails on us.
Okay.
So is it true? I mentioned in one of our episodes, I heard that I think it was Matt Reeves originally said, originally Batman beat the shit out of all of you. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, some of us got away.
But he beat up significantly more than one person originally.
Yeah.
And then in the final cut of the movie, and I think I might be misspoken, so if I'm wrong, tell me. I want to say Pattinson had some input on that, where he told Reeves, like, I think it would be more impactful if I just beat the shit out of one of them, and then they all kind of scatter and learn a lesson. You might not have been there when Pattinson and Reeves were talking. I'm sure it was Pattinson, Reeves, Errol. You know, the three amigos right there. But so that must be cool though. Like, when you're working on do you always know what's going to make the final cut? Obviously, you don't. In terms of, like, you see the movie, you're like, wait a second, I got hit in the fucking chin. We didn't even use it.
Yeah, I mean, the fight itself, they did cut it down a little bit. Luckily, they didn't cut my bit out. I was like, thank God. But yeah, you never know, you know, until it comes out. So it's always that excitement to, you know, see what the final thing looks like. But generally, you kind of get the gist and the time that you put in and things like that. So
yeah, I mean, you were in the biggest part of the trailer. I thought that scene in the trailer was the kind of the linchpin for people like me, because I got to be honest, when they said Robert Pattinson's going to play Batman, I went, "Wow, that's fucking stupid."
Yeah, same. I wasn't sold on it. You know?
And I maintain, and again, I know you're part of the movie. I like the movie very much. I don't love him as Bruce Wayne. I'm hoping they change that for me in future films. But fucking hell, was he good as Batman? In the suit as Batman, his fighting style. I really like the style of more speed and tenacity than just sheer strength. The fact that he just fights like a savage lunatic. It's kind of like Bane describes it in the Dark Knight Rises. You know, you fight like a younger man with nothing held back. That's how Robert Pattinson's Batman fights. So I thought that was great. It's got to be so fucking cool when you see a trailer go up online. You're like, the best part of that trailer, I'm sitting right in it.
Yeah, it is cool, man. I got to say, like, it's again, like Batman. The same with Indy. It was like so surreal, you know, like I'm about to do a Batman film, number one, and I'm about to get beaten up by Batman. So yeah, it's just, you know, it's a massive tick on the bucket list for sure.
So do you have a desire? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go, Rob.
Do you, obviously, so you've had some I was looking at your IMDb and going through everything, and I mean, it was like reading War and Peace because you're in everything. But You've had some stunt, obviously a ton of stunt work, and then stunt performer, and then some of them, you actually have lines or you're featured in a scene. Do you have aspirations to do more than just be in these fight scenes and be a stunt worker? Like, what's the future for you?
I'd definitely like to sort of like push the acting. That's definitely on the list as well. But again, like the stunt work, sometimes it opens up doors for like, castings and things like that, like the Batman. So you would be put forward as a character and then you can go cast for it and things like that. But yeah, definitely in the future, I'm looking to do more acting. So that's definitely on the list.
How's your English accent? How's your or not English? Sorry. How's your American accent? Your English accent's fantastic.
It needs work.
Yeah. I'm not buying it, by the way.
Just do a McConaughey impression. You'll be fine. Everyone else does.
What's that? Sorry.
So do you ever have? I mean, how long did you have to practice before you could kind of get down an American accent if you're doing some of these films? I mean, from what I've heard, I think it's easier to fake American than it is to fake European. But I mean, I've never really had to do it other than for purposes on here where I'm half drunk and just having fun. What's it like to, actually have to talk in a different accent? Is that something that you have to work on, or is it pretty natural for you?
Yeah, it definitely needs to, work on and stuff. Like for the Batman role, we had to do like Chicago accents and, try and...
We can't have a British guy getting beaten up by the Batman in Gotham. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it was,
it's a hate
sort
crime.
of flashing that and stuff. But every time these opportunities come, it's like it just gives you that motivation to sort of improve and put in the time and stuff. But the stunt side of it is, you got to keep fit. You got to constantly learning new skills, learning new departments within the stunts, because it's a broad area, like the rigging.
We were talking about that before you came on, that the guys that are in the fight scenes aren't necessarily the same guys getting thrown off the top of a building.
Yeah.
There's different people with different skill sets. Is that something that you're like trying to diversify how many different things you can do, or do you just strictly do like, because it seems like you're in a ton of fight scenes, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Martial arts background, getting into that. Are you trying to get into more like set me on fire and throw me through a fucking window, or are you trying to stick to the fight
everything,
scenes?
man? Like, everything I got told off as a kid I want to do. Like I've been lucky enough to have had the opportunity to like, be put forward for like fire burns and high falls.
You're so lucky to be set on fire. God, I envy you.
Yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones was, again, because there's so much stuff going on. So I actually learned to ride a horse on Game of Thrones, which was massive for me. It was like, again, like...
That's just another thing you can put in your resume, right? Add it to the resume. You can set me on fire, put me on a horse, or kick the shit out of me.
So how much time do you guys get to do that stuff? Because like when you have downtime and you're just hanging out, does everyone go and practice like the skill set? Like if you're there with so many horses, do people just get on them and ride them around? Do you go to camp? Like, what do you do?
There's schools and stuff, but you wouldn't really... It wouldn't be like, oh, you got free time, guys, go jump on a horse. That would sort of be done after work kind of thing. Like the opportunity, like if you get the contacts and stuff, and then you sort of got to pursue that yourself. But for sure, like if my role is to be on a horse and I've got downtime, I can be like, oh, can I jump on a horse for an hour? Just get my saddle time up, things like that. So for sure, yeah. And especially with like the martial arts, weapons, obviously on film sets, there is a lot of downtime a lot. So, that's sort of like our time to learn. Like sometimes we do pad work, stretch, just learn from each other, which is, I think, one of the best things about the job, just improving the skill set.
When you guys pre-vis your fights, right, with like, the cardboard boxes and on the mats and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
How long do you work with pre-vis before you then show them to... when they bring in like the lead, when they bring in like the Pattinson and then walk him through it?
Sometimes, like every stunt coordinator is different. So sometimes it might be like, oh, we got to do this previs. We've got like 2 weeks to do it. So then obviously we make it as good as we can, and then it's brought there. But then on other productions, sometimes the previs is like the hardest part of the film, and like filming is almost like more of a rest. So you're constantly trying to change this, you get this, you've learned this choreo, you've mastered it, and then that you got to cut this section, and then so it's sometimes an ongoing thing which can last for months, for this upcoming scene that's coming up. So it depends on the films really, and again the coordinators, what they want to see, so every job's different, which is one of the best parts of the job, is every single job is all it's completely different.
We talk all the time about how important the second unit, the stunt teams, things like this are. I mean, obviously, like people see the billing and they see, okay, we got this movie, Fast and the Furious 9. Oh, Vin Diesel. Like, that's what everyone thinks of. But like a movie like that, I mean, you have so much that goes into that if it doesn't go well, it doesn't matter who the A-list actors are. If all the stunts and all the coordination, and we talked earlier about the difference between choreography and stunt work. And obviously, like, stunt work is choreographed, but not all choreographed work is stunts. But with all the things that you get involved in, it's got to be crazy to think, like, we have these huge stars in this movie, but the time is probably more put on you guys, right? I mean, I'm just assuming here, but like, they're trusting the stars to know their lines, come in, do their part. The grunt work is really what you guys are putting into it, with Game of Thrones, with Marvel, with all these big pictures, with these massive fight scenes. Obviously, the glory goes to the stars. That's just what happens. But I mean, you've got to have a level that, like, you're watching an episode of Game of Thrones. Tom, what was the episode you mentioned to me earlier that he was in? There was one that we both loved.
The Bells.
Oh, The Bells. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that episode is made by so many people that don't have speaking lines, because I mean, that is, again, for a TV episode, the scope and the size of that shot. I mean, we watch it with our jaw hitting the floor. Like, this is TV. This isn't film.
I remember watching Hard Home, right?
Yeah,
you live for Sunday nights. It comes on, and I'm looking at my watch, and I'm like, what? We got fucking 7 minutes left. What is going on? Let's see 7 minutes. Like, someone fired off a starter pistol. The last 7 minutes.
Craziest 7 minutes of TV. Hard Home. Yep.
The last 7 minutes of Hard Home is harder than probably
a movie.
Probably
film.
any action film had worked that year in Hollywood, right? It was absolutely absurd. So you never knew what to expect with Game of Thrones, which was so incredible. But like Rob and I talk about all the time, when you watch a movie, you know when the stunt guys have taken the reins, and you're like, oh, in some movies do it well. Other movies, it looks like it's two separate films. Like, the stunt guys are doing
The Irishman.
So we'll go shoot our stuff on a Friday and a Saturday, and everyone shoots Monday through Thursday, and then they'll figure it out in editing. But in a lot of times, it's the stunt guys that save the films, and we'll watch movies and we'll say, was the movie good? No, not really. But the action was terrific. It was, people were carrying, were doing the majority of the work were the stunt people, and you guys make people look so much better than they actually are, and help the performances.
That's right.
He's like, go on, keep telling me how great
I will.
Me and my brethren are.
So obviously. So being a person who's obsessed with Batman, when I was young, we used to do Batman stunt shows in front of my house on Halloween, and because the neighborhood I grew up in, we grew up making.
By young, he means like 28.
I was much younger than that, and we would put steel cables up on my parents' chimney, and I would run them to the telephone pole in front of the house. So I was like 12 years old, and I was up on an extension ladder, rigging up this steel cable, and our neighbor would walk out, and this is a person who owns a home. He owns property, right? And I'm up on his pole, and I'm not up on his pole. I'm up on the telephone pole in front of his house, and
phrasing.
He's like, "What are you doing?" And being obsessed with films, I said, "Oh, I'm just conducting a little weather experiment," and that was it. I never gave him any explanation. And Batman would come out on a zip line, and then I would rappel down to the ground, and we would have these choreographed fight scenes, and we'd have music, and we'd have blank firing guns, and we got into doing small pyrotechnics, and we even built the cake float from the 89
1989.
Batman. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Joker's on with all of his guys.
Nice.
We had a bunch of people push it down the street. So I was obsessed with all that stuff. When it comes time to work on a movie like The Batman, how do they pick the guy that's going to go in the suit? And is that something that is that a position that people jockey for? Do you have a say in that? Like, how does that process work?
Well, yeah, it's a massive, opportunity and every stunt guy wants to be Batman, right? I mean, that's
right.
Like one of the holy grails. So yeah, of course they got to consider like the skill sets and stuff, fighting ability and stuff like that. That's why they got the stunt doubles that they did. I think they were perfect as well. So they had like 2 stunt doubles, Rick English, who's like amazing martial artist. He's good on bikes, so he's good in cars. So that sort of fits the Batman role. And they had Harley Durst, who's like again, he's a good fighter, and he does sort of like more of the parkour, all the jumps, acrobatic kind of stuff.
Right.
So together with them, and again, like most films, they might have 2 doubles when they're first unit double, second unit double, and they can sort of like swap out and complement each other's skills.
So you were in the scene with the Riddler people on the top of the garden there, and in the train scene. Were you on set for any other scenes?
Let
me be specific. Were you on set for any scenes with Commissioner Block?
I wasn't, unfortunately, no.
So Tom and I saw this movie together, and again, we both very much like the movie, and I'm assuming you've seen it at this point.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
The guy that plays Commissioner Block with that high pitched voice, how the fuck did he get that role? He's supposed to be. He's supposed to be the heavy in that scene in the police precinct when Gordon gets everyone to get out of the room and tells Batman, "You're gonna hit me. You're gonna take these keys. You gotta get out of here." And the commissioner's like, "Are you serious, Gordon? You're really gonna take this guy's side, Gordon?" Like, how the fuck is that the commissioner in the Batman? And again, I like the movie. I'm not shitting on it, but Tom,
I think most people.
Tom was next to me in the theater and immediately goes, "Is he fucking serious?"
I could not stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing.
Well, I also started doing impersonations immediately of that guy.
Yeah.
So I obviously like. The work you've done, the catalog you have is so impressive. I have to ask you, of all the stuff you've worked on, which one were you the most excited when you found out I'm on it? Like, what is the number one picture that you were like? Indy 5, 007, Black Widow. Which project? Game of Thrones. Which project did you work on that when you found out I'm on this, you were like, yes, this is it?
Tough one, man. I mean, they've all been, coming up. Like I think Bond was probably, that's again. I was just like, holy shit! I'm gonna.
So he takes you out right before he gets in the helicopter, right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, that was supposed to do like a bit more of a fight scene, but he hurt his ankle, so they sort of cut it down. But the opportunity, and it was in Mexico. I was flying around in a helicopter all around Mexico. It was just on a Bond movie.
That's
real.
Like crazy.
All right, so then we have an easy one here. Who wins in a fight, Daniel Craig or Tom Cruise?
I'm gonna say Tom Cruise, man. That guy, he's
Just the intensity alone, right? I mean,
not to mention he's listening.
Yeah, well,
he's listening.
Hey, I love you, Tom. If you're listening, buddy, I got your back.
No, he's speaking. No, it's all good things. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
He's doing.
We're a big Scientology podcast. I'm not sure if you were aware of that or not.
Dips in my kitchen right now. So Errol, I have a question. So, there's the guy that I really like, Sam Hargrave.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a guy that was just doing stunts on the Marvel films, right? And he was doubling Chris Evans. And then, people recognized his abilities, and then he became the stunt coordinator for the Marvel films, right? Now that's a guy who got fairly successful because he was doubling someone that was famous, and he was doubling a lead character, right? Is that something too that, you know, when you're going in for this stuff, you're like, oh, fingers crossed that they're going to cast a guy that looks exactly like me, and I'm like, but there's so many stunt guys in history that to this day still work with their body doubles, their stunt doubles rather, right? Mel Gibson's guy was with him forever.
Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, you name it.
Is that true?
He's
fix that dent in the car. I understand.
He's Leo DiCaprio's stunt double.
Yeah. But there are a lot of guys in history that still had that long relationship with their lead, and it has totally changed their careers. I think even Chris Hemsworth's Bobby Dazzler, is that his name? Yeah. He's in a commercial, right? He's got his own commercial now.
Yeah.
So
look, he knows they're a brethren. They're a group. They know.
It's cool, man.
So, but
I mean, you're not quite. I mean, you could work with Oscar Isaac on Moon Knight. I mean, you're into the Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I got news for you. You're not going to be Mahershala Ali's body double on Blade. I'm sorry to tell you. But I mean, you've got, obviously you've been in the industry for a long time. Your catalog speaks for itself. How do you take that step from just being a stunt person into, you know, getting, whether it's bit roles or small roles, and building off of that? Is that what you're trying to do? When I know I asked you if you want to get into acting more. Yeah. I mean, I think obviously, like, in a perfect world, yes. Yeah, I mean, you're a star in the next 5 years, and you're on the next show, and you're the lead for it. That's easy to say. But are you actively pursuing stunt work, or are you actively pursuing, you know, talking roles? What are you looking at?
Like, again, as your sort of career matures, you kind of get known for like, you get known for like, you know, being confident in acting and things like that. So right now I'm sort of going for more the sort of character roles, you know, like eventually one day being like
right, like Ethan Hunt can kick the shit out of Ethan Hunt can kick the shit out of me, but I want to have 2 lines before he does it.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, you know. So
Henry Cavill can smash my head through a sink, sure.
But there's a lot of guys that have gotten famous. Even is it Heidi Moneymaker, Scarlett Johansson's stunt double, right? So they started to make her. They would give her lines, and they gave her a role. So all the stunt guys were being stunt actors in the scene. So when it came time to, you know, throw them downstairs and pull them through walls and things like that, they could do it. And I love when movies do that stuff, because it makes so much more sense, right? Yeah, like the guys that he fights in the elevator in the Winter Soldier,
Civil War,
Winter
Soldier, yeah.
Winter Soldier.
No, Winter Soldier. You had it right. Yeah.
Okay. Like those are stunt guys that they give dialogue to, right? So they can end up just, you know, beating them up and not have to.
It's 3 actors and 7 stuntmen. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. What was the other question about that? I forget. Sorry.
You were going to ask him in Age of Ultron, did you take a punch from Chris Evans, and how was it? Who's the so obviously I asked you about like kind of what you're the most excited about. I'm guessing the answer to that is kind of like when I was younger, the first one I got, like the first big movie. Who's the most well-known actor that's ever physically hit you on film?
Oh, good question.
Probably Cruise, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Tom Cruise. Yeah,
he's physically struck you.
Well, not physically, but like pretty close.
Very close, near miss. Yeah.
I think as a stunt people, we got to be aware of, like, obviously, you know, we're doing these scenes with actors and stuff, and we're used to doing it with, you know, other trained martial artists and stuff, so we know timing and, you know, distance and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
if you hit Tom Cruise,
yeah. So you just.
But if Tom Cruise says, "Hey, on this take, I'm actually going to just like graze you a little," you'll take the bump, right? You do it. You tell Tom Cruise, "Go ahead."
Maybe.
It seems like
we'll talk about it.
It seems like a lot of people have a tremendous amount of respect for stunt. The stuntmen seem like the jocks in high school that everybody wants to hang out with. Do you know what I mean? But with that said, they also don't want to invite you to their parties. I'm sure you understand that as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's an absolute shame that there is no Oscar or BAFTA for stunt work. I think that's absolutely disgusting. And I also
Game of Thrones more than ever. I mean, Tom and I used to talk. Tom got me into Game of Thrones. I wasn't. It's not necessarily the genre I lean towards, but he told me you have to watch this fucking show. And that whether it's Emmys, Oscars, whatever you name it, there has to be separate categories. And even we talk about this for movies too. Like Marvel movies aren't going to win Oscars for Best Picture, but there needs to be a separate category. And it's not most successful because that would just be numbers, but it's got to be like something along those lines where it's like, it's not the best picture, like in terms of like art, but it is in terms of enjoyment. But the stuff that you guys do on stunt work, like Game of Thrones is the best example I can think of. Or maybe like, Marvel, Endgame, the portal scene at the end, the fight scene between the Chitauri and all of Thanos people and all of the superheroes. The stunt work is, to people like Tom, Tom's in the industry. I'm not. So I am a huge fan. I'm a fanboy. I love Marvel. I love DC. I love action movies. I love all media, entertainment, film, you name it. We love to talk about all of it. But Tom knows far more than I do. I'm just a fan. I don't have expertise in any of this. But even for me, the difference between good stunt work and mediocre stunt work is startling. And there has to be more recognition because, again, the pretty faces and the big names get the popularity and all of the notoriety from it. But a show like Game of Thrones, probably more than any show ever, the second unit and the stunt work is what made that project. And there needs to be something done.
They broke the record with the most people burned on.
Yep. There
on
needs to be something done to get the recognition. And I understand they're not going to say the Emmy for best burn victim is Erol Ismail, but what they need to do is have some sort of award, whether it's with Emmys for TV or Oscars for film, that recognizes the stunt team. And I know there's some that kind of vaguely do, but like strictly like it should be called the Badass Award, if we're being honest.
They
right?
have,
that's what
they do have an award like within the stunt community called the Tourist Awards. So they'll have like hardest hit.
I mean, an award that's not given to you from The Rock. Do you know what I mean? Something, that's not sponsored by Red Bull. Do you know what I mean? Something that's...
Terramana Tequila. 1 year free supply of Terramana Tequila.
While he's drinking it. Oh, goddamn. What was I going to say?
No, sorry. You were talking about the award that they do have. What is that a part of, though? What ceremony? Is that Oscars, Emmys? What are we talking about here?
I'm not sure. Maybe...
This is my point. You should know because the Oscar for best stunt choreography or best, it literally should be called Badass. I know that's lowbrow and mediocre, but it should be called the Oscar for most badass stunt coordination goes to Black Widow. Like that's what it should be because they do costume, right? They do hair and makeup. Yeah. They do all this hairstylist did this actor's hair in a way that was great. How about the guy that jumped off a building and took a flying knee to the chest? Can we give him some recognition? Maybe
they don't.
I mean, I know I'm pandering to you, but I genuinely feel this way.
Yeah, I think they're the recognition for stunts and stuff is definitely has come a long way. So hopefully in the future, I think there's like maybe petitions and things like that. So obviously
sign me up.
The Oscars and stuff is like they're saying, there's no room and things like that. But I think for sure, like it's a dangerous job.
They do a shitload of Oscars that they don't air on TV. They can add one more for people that actually put their life on the line.
Yeah.
Like maybe the people that are like jumping out of planes or through windows or getting punched or getting set on fire. Maybe that's a little more impressive to me than someone that styled Zooey Deschanel's hair. Just me.
Yeah. Mate, we're on the same boat. So yeah, same page with you on that one for sure.
When Saving Private Ryan lost for Best Picture and was beaten by Shakespeare in Love, there is no fucking comparison to a movie that's shot on a handful of locations in sound stages, comparing that to the movie that recreated the fucking Normandy invasion. It doesn't come close at all. And people think when they think of action, they think of comic book films and things like that. They don't think they're as cerebral as everything else, I guess. But the degree of difficulty and the logistical problems that need to be solved in doing all of these things, if you took people from Shakespeare in Love and you asked them to do any of the work on a movie like Saving Private Ryan, they wouldn't be able to handle it. That's why they.
But Tom Sizemore could do Shakespeare in Love.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, even costume and wardrobe and things like that, like all of it is on this epic level, this logistical scale. When they made Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson was directing on satellite in 3 separate locations in front of him on television screens. I mean, how many continents, how many countries were Game of Thrones shooting on in once? Spain, Iceland, in Ireland.
Yeah, Ireland. I think the bulk of it was in Ireland, and then would go on location. So it was
right.
Croatia, Spain, and Iceland.
But at one point, you guys were shooting 3 countries at once, simultaneously.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's.
I think we found the only hole in his resume here. I mean, there's no Lord of the Rings. I mean, maybe he can get in the Amazon series for season 2. But I think Tom found the only hole in your resume here for action.
If he was in it, he wouldn't tell us anyway.
No, you're right though. No, the coordination, the crazy logistics of what they're doing. I mean, film over the years, right? I mean, what was insane in 1985 is child's play in 2022, right?
Well,
I mean,
but I think that's a whole different subject as well. So, like, let's use Indiana Jones for example. Raiders of the Lost Ark. All of the stunt work in Raiders of the Lost Ark was practical stunt work. Okay, there is nothing that happened in Raiders that was on camera that you can't do in real life, and I know because I've done it. Okay, and that's not some goofy fucking boast. Any dummy can go and do what they did in Raiders of the Lost Ark if you're stupid enough to do it. Okay,
I'm terrible with a whip.
Yeah. So
ask my wife.
But fast forward to Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. And the same people that made all of those great films and used practical technology now suddenly rely on the CGI, and it's absolutely garbage. It's garbage. The swinging on the vines and the monkeys and the clearly fake ledges when they're doing that chase through the jungle, the 3 CGI waterfalls, the car going over 3 waterfalls. It's absolutely absurd. Now,
can you tell he cares a little bit about Indiana Jones?
Listen, man, someone's got to care.
No, he does. It's easy for me because Indiana Jones I enjoy, I very much like. It's not my passion. For him, it is. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Thomas.
So I don't understand when you watch movies in the past. I mean, you can get into some hardcore movies in the 60s and 70s. I mean, the car chase that they did in Bullet. Anytime Burt Reynolds got into a car, like they did things on camera that they don't do nowadays. You could watch television in the 80s, one episode of the A-Team. I'm gonna guess thousands of rounds of squibs and dust hits, and they probably trashed 10, 20 cars in every single episode. You watch TV now, you're lucky if you see a car chase. And if you do, you can say, oh, that's the same fucking street that they use at NCIS, and then list 1,000 other shows, and it's in like a part of town where there's no other traffic. Like, how come it went from being so practical to not being able to do it now? Like, how did that happen? I don't know. I just think a lot of times someone could say, look, we can do this practically. There's a way that we could make it look impressive. And I don't even know if the filmmakers nowadays,
can you tell we've hit a button?
Do it.
We've hit a button with him. We're getting there.
Look, as a guy who struggles to make his own movies, when I want to do something, I'll do it. I built a 20-foot statue and crashed it through a wall like Raiders of the Lost Ark. That was it. People go, oh, how did you do it? I built a statue, climbed up it. We built it on a gigantic hinge, and we crashed it through a wall. That's it. I don't know. If they did it nowadays, I can imagine there would be so much more discussion about it. Should it be CGI? Should the wall be there? Should we, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like they over-engineer a lot of things nowadays, maybe because they either don't know how to pull it off or they just rely too much on CGI. What would you say about any of that?
Yeah, I think definitely, you know, because sometimes we do things and we'll be like, we're, you know, creating these scenes, like these chase scenes or whatever. And then, you know, it's all coming together. And then there'll be a section of it that's like, oh yeah, we'll just do the rest. We'll just CGI it or whatever. And we're like, why would you want to CGI when you can just do it for real? So it might be to do with just, you know, the producers trying to like save money here and there kind of thing, or they might not think the audience will know the difference, you know. So
that's another question.
The regular audience might not, and I'm the regular audience for the record. I am that guy. Tom will watch something and go, "Did you see the holster on that guy's gun? That's the wrong holster for that." I don't know that.
James
but
Bond. James Bond.
There's a lot of people that do know this type of stuff though, and it's not millions of dollars to do it the right way.
Yeah,
look,
sure.
And my big argument is, if the people that are making these films are at the pinnacle of their industry, and
Kevin Feige,
there's way too much money, there's way too much
Joss
oversight. There shouldn't be that many mistakes. You can listen to costume people that will say, "We found the material for Jack Sparrow's sash in the mountains in Turkey." And when it came time to make the sequels, they sent a whole group of people back to this village in Turkey. They went up into the mountains, found the people that made this material, had them make more of it, and then flew back.
But Daniel Craig's holster was off Amazon.
But they're using the wrong swords and the wrong pistols in the pirate movie. Like, why does one department get a pass and all of the other stuff not? Do you know what I mean?
So now you're getting why this podcast is called Too Critical. It's not just because there's two of us and we're critical. We are too critical. So this is where we differ here, because Tom is hypercritical of this stuff. And I'm not discrediting him or shaming him for this. Like, he knows it and I don't. I don't know the practical end of things. I don't know he owns a prop rental company. I sell office furniture. It's not quite the same thing. So he knows what he's talking about with this stuff. As a regular consumer that doesn't see it, for me, it's not always a huge deal. Sometimes it is. If I notice, that's when you know you're in trouble, because I shouldn't notice. But as someone that's worked on all of these films, and without naming them because I wouldn't ask you to, I'm sure you've worked on projects before where you've said, this one was done right. What the fuck are we doing here with this? Am I wrong? Have you seen this?
And do you know it's unsafe? Like, when is it so bad that you say, "Oh, this is not going to end well"? Like, we need to tell somebody about this.
Well,
I'm not driving that tuk-tuk.
In my early stages of my career, I worked a lot in Bollywood.
Okay.
Great place to work and to learn and stuff, but not always
zero standards.
They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck.
And then we bring in the tiger. The tiger CGI, right?
Yeah.
I don't think the tiger's name is CGI. What's the tiger's name?
Jeffrey.
Yeah, so, you know, sometimes the director's he's got an idea of what he wants and it's not practical. I think there was like this one scene where they got this, they asked me to do it, but I didn't have the skills to do it. So basically they wanted a roll and stoppie on the motorbike. And then they wanted someone like to be shooting a machine gun.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, you know, that's not the back, that's the clutch. That's not the front brake. So there's no way he's
you're gonna do an endo, we call it.
Yeah.
Right? The front wheel goes up like that? Okay.
Yeah.
I used to do them on my mountain bike.
Yeah.
Well, good skills, man. You should be a stunt guy.
I'm too pretty to be a stunt guy.
So you had to do an endo and shoot a gun at the same time.
Yeah, I didn't do it in the end, but I was like, it's not. That's the clutch. It's not the front brake.
So they don't even know how to drive the bike.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and then they're telling you what to do.
Put that in.
Yeah.
And then they had this scene, like, so obviously he's been getting around on the bike and stuff, and then a drop of sweat drops onto the tank, and then it's like a frying pan, just like, I was like, that's not going to be hot. But they, like, again, the director loved it, and he just went in there. So
Fashion over function, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Speaking of bikes, I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm sure whenever you see a motorbike chase in a movie, it goes from a street bike to all of a sudden the guy has dirt bike tires on his bike when he's doing like off-road stuff, right? You're like, how the fuck did this happen? Or they start off with dirt bike tires on a bike that no way ever would have dirt bike tires on it, right?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I would love to see this in a movie. With the technology that exists in automobiles now, they have all the sensors on the vehicle. So like, if you were in a Tesla and you fell asleep and someone was crossing the road, that Tesla would stop. It wouldn't hit the crowd, right? There are so many safety features, anti-lock brakes and things like that. I know they did it in Die Hard 3. Bruce Willis actually says, tear out the anti-lock brakes. So Samuel L. Jackson reaches down, pulls out a bunch of fuses out of the vehicle, and then Bruce Willis does the J turn in the car, and then he fires out the window with his... So the brakes don't lock up in the vehicle. Now, that's great. That's just one sentence, and it explained the ability for him to flip that vehicle around. I want to see a scene in a movie when they do a car chase. First of all, nobody has a shift up on the column anymore, and very few have the shift on the floor. They just have the buttons that you press for park, reverse, neutral, drive, right? Yeah. I want to see a high-speed chase with these cars that, won't let you tailgate.
With a BMW X7.
Right, sure. And the guy jams on the brakes, and then he goes, boop, and hits reverse, and then hits the gas, and then hits the brakes, and then goes, boop, into drive. It would be fantastic.
I'd like to see that in 007. Yeah. That would be very
the nozzle and just...
He keeps trying to hit the guys in the Tesla, and it keeps slowing down in front of them.
Like no joke. Like, I'm humble brag here. My wife has a brand new BMW X7. That's why I said that. The new models went away from touchscreen because they couldn't get the chips to put the touchscreen technology in. So they went back to, next to the shifter column, there's a dial that you can turn and push. Yeah. I would love to fucking see 007 driving, and he's touching the screen. He goes, fucking chips, no touch screen, and he has to turn down and actually turn it again because of COVID they couldn't get chips in time, so they changed the manufacturing of a car to accommodate that.
There's just something so satisfying if watching a guy drive a standard and then just the clutch and the brake and the gas, like it's just part
007 has to drive a stick, right? I mean, he can't drive automatic.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if he's on the wrong side of the road, which, by the way, so I'm assuming you've worked on many continents. The first time I had to drive on the wrong side of the road, and by wrong for me, I mean right for you, I was in Turks and Caicos, which is the British West Indies. Fucking hell, that was harder than I thought, brother. I mean, you know what? It wasn't so much the driving; it was the roundabouts or the
roundabouts. Yeah,
no, it was the rotaries or the roundabouts. I thought like no big deal, just flip it and reverse it. It's easy.
But see, you've been training for that your whole life. So Massachusetts, New England actually, it's New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and 5 other states in the United States have rotaries. And we grew up with rotaries. So other people, even in the United States, don't know what to do in a rotary, which is why they lose their minds. Just a little fun fact about rotaries.
Fun fact. So we gotta let Errol go soon. So I gotta ask a few questions, and I don't know what to call this segment.
Were you sad when Indiana Jones was killed in Indy 5? Go ahead. Your thoughts. Go.
That's not what it was. So all right, we're gonna call this segment yes or not. Plead the fifth. Yes or you're breaking up. Okay. So I'm going to name some actors you've worked with.
Oh, boy.
And if they're a great guy, you're going to say yes. And if not, we're just breaking up and you couldn't hear me.
Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey. We know the answer.
He didn't.
Go ahead.
He didn't work with Kevin Spacey, did he?
Thankfully, no. Go ahead.
All right. So the Rock.
Yes. Great guy.
Tom Cruise.
Yes. Also a great guy.
Daniel Craig.
We're breaking up.
Wow.
Chris Hemsworth.
Great guy, yes.
Chris Evans.
I didn't work so much with Chris Evans.
That's fine. I appreciate the honesty.
Hold up. Did he get to meet Michael Rooker at all?
No.
Michael Rooker.
Ah, damn.
All right. Scarlett Johansson. Great gal.
Yes.
I would
Great
say.
girl. Yes.
Yeah.
Stunning.
David Harbour.
We are breaking up.
Phenomenal.
Robert Pattinson.
Great guy, yes.
Zoe Kravitz.
Is there
In
in between?
Yeah. In between. Paul Dano.
Didn't even know.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Henry Cavill.
In the middle, I'd say.
Interesting.
Kit Harington.
Kit, yeah, great guy.
Okay.
It's strange because, like, when
Speaking of strange, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yes, great guy.
All right, so go back to Kit Harington. What was strange?
Like obviously they get into their sort of roles, so it's like you can't judge them as, you know.
It's hard, right? They get in character. So if their character's a douchebag, they might be a douchebag.
That poor guy too, because he was hoping, we were all hoping it was going to go one way, and it just didn't.
My queen, Daddy, my queen.
When they ever ask him to sum up the last season in one word, he says disappointing.
Disappointing. All right, I have to ask this one, and this is the one I've been looking forward to the most. Peter Dinklage.
Didn't meet him.
Huge talent.
We'll move on. Emily Clark.
Didn't meet her, no.
Okay, don't know.
I forgot all the dragons' names.
So, all right. So I'm trying to go through, like, I'm literally looking at my background now with all the different movies and Eternals, Black Widow, Batman, all of these. Because again, this guy's just spending goddamn everything. Simon Pegg.
What did I work with him? Yeah, it was cool. It was cool, man.
What did you work on? What did you work on with Simon Pegg? With Mission Impossible?
Mission Impossible.
Mission.
Right.
Yeah. Like some of them, like super down to earth, you know. But again, give them their respect and.
I won't push him any further. I appreciate the back and forth we've had so far. So I'll let Tom take it over now.
So Errol, what are you working on right now?
I can't tell you guys.
What country are you in? Are you going to be working in?
I'm in Belfast. I'm in Belfast, Ireland.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent. Very good.
Sons of Anarchy 2. Got it.
So Errol, I assume you're in a union?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, you are. Okay. When did you first get into the union?
Probably about 10 years ago now.
10 years ago? And how long did you have to work in stunt work before you got into the union?
Well, really, you have to do like all these tests and sort of qualify to get into it. Yeah. And then it's kind of like once you've been accepted, then it's not like, oh, cool, you're in it. It's like you're probationary, right? And then you kind of like get brought up.
It's like an internship where they kick your ass continually.
Yeah, stunt therapy, we call it.
That's stunt therapy. Excellent.
You get the teas, all that kind of stuff.
And if you had to give a message to a young kid that's growing up on these movies right now, that is getting inspired by the movies in the characters that you are putting on screen, the same way you did when you saw Raiders and all these other movies, what would you tell them about if they want to pursue something like this?
I would say work hard. Stay focused, and as crazy as it may seem, your dreams or whatever, just keep hounding it, and it will come true for sure. Because like I said, like me growing up, wanting to learn martial arts and stuff, and to where I am now, even like it's always humbling to look back and just to see from where I've come from, not to sound arrogant or nothing, but is been a dream come true. And I know that I've always, focused, and I've had that clear vision and just gone for it 100%. And it's happening, guys.
Very cool. That's very cool. Errol, thank you so much for your time. We greatly appreciate you coming on and humoring us and listening to our bullshit. Success with everything that you're doing, and we can't wait to see Indiana Jones die in Indiana Jones 5. It's going to be fantastic. Thanks again. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thanks, Errol.
All right, take care.
Again, man. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. That was episode 47 of the Too Critical Podcast, talking to Stuntman Erol Ismail. I hope I didn't butcher that last name too much. He was a great guy, so much fun to talk to, so many cool stories about the industry. He worked on massive movies, the latest Mission Impossible film, Fast and Furious, Indiana Jones 5, The Batman, in a ton of movies that you've
just look at my background. Just look
at
me.
the background.
Yeah.
Black Widow, Doctor Strange, The Eternals, Game of Thrones. Fantastic to have him on. Aladdin, great guy. We sincerely hope you enjoy the show. Please continue to watch. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do it on our YouTube channel. Check us out at Too Critical Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And thank you very much. We will see you again. Thank you. Goodbye. We sincerely hope you enjoyed the program. Please check us out where all podcasts are sold, and check out our YouTube channel as well. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. If you don't like the show, go fuck yourself.
Ra-da-da-da-doo.